Your life is not defined by what you say you want, what you hope for, or even what you believe about yourself. Your life is defined by what you do every single day. Most people spend years thinking about who they want to become, but very few truly understand that identity is not something you find. It is something you build through action. Every decision you make, every habit you repeat, every step you take is shaping the person you are becoming. Your actions are constantly voting for the identity you will live with. Many people wait for motivation before they act. They believe that one day they will wake up feeling confident, disciplined, or powerful. But life doesn't work that way. Confidence doesn't come before action, it comes because of action. Discipline is not something you are born with, it is something you practice daily. The moment you start acting like the person you want to become, you begin transforming your identity. Action sends a powerful signal to your mind that says, "This is who I am." Think about it. A person does not become successful by simply saying they want success. They become successful by repeatedly taking the kinds of action successful people take. When someone wakes up early, works on their goals, learns new skills, and refuses to quit, they are not just doing tasks, they are building the identity of a winner. Your brain begins to accept what you repeatedly do as the truth about who you are. One powerful thing to understand is that your identity is flexible. You are not stuck with the person you used to be. The habits you choose today can completely reshape your future self. If you consistently take small positive actions, reading, improving your skills, pushing yourself when it's uncomfortable, you slowly build the identity of someone who grows, someone who leads, someone who wins. The small actions you repeat daily become the foundation of who you are. But the opposite is also true. When you repeatedly delay, avoid responsibility, or give up easily, those actions start shaping an identity as well. Over time, the mind begins to believe that you are someone who quits, someone who procrastinates, someone who lacks discipline. That is why the smallest decisions matter more than people think. They are quietly building the story you will believe about yourself. The good news is that identity can change faster than most people realize. You don't need to change everything overnight. All it takes is one new action repeated consistently. When you start exercising, even for a few minutes a day, you begin to see yourself as someone who takes care of their body. When you read daily, you begin to see yourself as a learner. When you show courage in difficult moments, you start seeing yourself as strong. Your brain is constantly collecting evidence about who you are. Every action you take becomes proof. If your actions show persistence, your mind starts believing you are persistent. If your actions show courage, your mind starts believing you are brave. This is why action is so powerful. It rewires how you see yourself. Many people try to change their life by changing their thoughts alone. They repeat affirmations, they imagine success, they hope things will be different. But real transformation happens when thoughts are combined with consistent action. Action turns ideas into reality. Action proves to your mind that change is real. When you start acting like the person you want to become, something incredible happens. Your standards rise, your confidence grows, your environment begins to respond differently to you. People treat you according to the identity you demonstrate through your behavior. Opportunities appear because your actions show that you are ready for them. You don't need permission from anyone to change who you are. You don't need a perfect plan or perfect circumstances. All you need is the willingness to start acting differently today. A single courageous decision can begin rewriting the story of your life. Remember, this identity is not declared, it is demonstrated. The world does not judge you by your intentions, it responds to your actions. Every day you are casting votes for the person you will become. So if you want to be strong, act with strength. If you want to be confident, take bold actions. If you want to be successful, practice the habits of successful people. Your actions today are building the identity you will carry tomorrow. And the most powerful realization of all is this: you are only one decision away from becoming a different person. Most people spend a huge part of their lives talking about the person they want to become. They talk about success, confidence, discipline, and greatness. They set goals, make plans, and imagine a better future for themselves. But the truth is that your identity is not shaped by what you say you want. It is shaped by what you repeatedly do. Every action you take sends a message to your mind about who you really are. If you keep showing up, keep working, and keep pushing forward even when it's difficult, you slowly begin to see yourself as someone who is strong, determined, and capable. Think about it for a moment. Someone doesn't become a leader because they say they want to lead. A person becomes a leader when they start taking responsibility, making decisions, and standing up when things are difficult. The same is true for any identity you want in life. If you want to be confident, you must start doing things that confident people do, speaking up, taking risks, and stepping outside your comfort zone. These actions begin to build proof in your mind that this is who you are becoming. Your brain is constantly watching your behavior and collecting evidence about your identity. Every time you follow through on a commitment, every time you push through resistance, every time you take a step toward growth, your mind records it. Over time, these repeated actions become the foundation of your self-image. This is why small daily actions are far more powerful than occasional big efforts. A single workout doesn't make someone fit, but consistent workouts slowly build the identity of someone who takes care of their body. The powerful thing about this idea is that it means you are never stuck with the person you used to be. Your past actions may have shaped your current identity, but your future actions can reshape it completely. The moment you begin acting differently, you begin creating a different version of yourself. When you start reading every day, learning new skills, and taking initiative, you begin building the identity of someone who grows and improves. Your life starts to shift not because you wish for change, but because you acted on it. Many people wait for the right feeling before they take action. They think they must feel motivated, confident, or ready before they begin. But action is what creates those feelings in the first place. When you take action despite fear, despite doubt, and despite uncertainty, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your excuses. With every step forward, your identity begins to evolve from someone who hesitates into someone who moves with purpose. Over time, these consistent actions create momentum. The person who once doubted themselves begins to trust their own ability to follow through. The person who once procrastinated begins to see themselves as disciplined and focused. This transformation does not happen because of a single decision or a single moment of inspiration. It happens because day after day, action after action, you build evidence that supports the person you are becoming. And eventually, those actions become your identity. Most people believe that confidence is something you must feel before you take action. They think confident people are somehow born with a special mindset that allows them to move forward without fear. But the truth is completely different. Confidence is not something that appears magically before you begin. It is something that is built through action. When you take the first step towards something that scares you, even when you feel uncertain, you begin creating the foundation of real confidence. Think about the first time someone speaks in front of a crowd, starts a business, or tries something completely new. In that moment, they are rarely confident. Their heart races, their mind fills with doubts, and their comfort zone tries to pull them back. Yet the moment they push through and take action anyway, something powerful begins to happen. They realize that fear did not destroy them. Instead, it became proof that they were capable of facing something difficult. The human brain learns through experience. Every time you act despite uncertainty, your brain gathers evidence that you are stronger than you previously believed. One action becomes proof. Then another action reinforces that proof. Slowly, those repeated experiences reshape the way you see yourself. What once felt impossible starts to feel manageable, and what once made you nervous begins to feel natural. This is why confident people are not fearless, they are experienced. They have taken action so many times that fear no longer controls their decisions. They have failed, learned, adjusted, and tried again. Each attempt strengthened their belief in their own ability to handle challenges. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It is the result of repeatedly proving to yourself that you can move forward even when fear is present. Many people remain stuck because they are waiting to feel ready. They tell themselves that once they feel confident enough, they will start. But waiting for confidence before acting is like waiting to become strong before going to the gym. Strength comes from the process, not before it. The same is true for confidence. The more you act, the more your mind begins to accept that you are capable of growth, progress, and success. Over time, these repeated actions begin to transform the way you carry yourself. You speak differently, you make decisions faster, and you stop doubting every step you take. The uncertainty that once held you back begins to lose its power. All of this happens because you chose action instead of hesitation. Each step forward becomes another piece of evidence that you are capable of far more than you once believed. Most people believe that their life will change because of one big moment, a breakthrough, a huge opportunity, or a sudden burst of motivation. But the truth is that life rarely changes in a single dramatic event. Instead, it is shaped quietly through the small habits you repeat every day. The things you do consistently, even when they seem insignificant, slowly begin to define who you are. Your daily routines, your choices, and the way you spend your time are constantly building the identity you carry with you. Every habit is like a small vote for the type of person you are becoming. When you wake up early to work on your goals, you are casting a vote for discipline. When you choose to learn something new instead of wasting hours on distractions, you are voting for growth. These actions may feel small in the moment, but when they are repeated day after day, they begin to shape the story you believe about yourself. Over time, these habits transform from simple actions into the foundation of your identity. Your brain is designed to recognize patterns. When you repeatedly do something, your mind starts to believe that this behavior represents who you truly are. A person who exercises regularly begins to see themselves as someone who values health and strength. Someone who reads daily starts to view themselves as a learner and a thinker. These identities are not created overnight. They grow slowly as your actions reinforce them again and again. The direction of your life is often hidden inside your daily habits. If someone spends their time building skills, improving their mindset, and working toward meaningful goals, their future will naturally begin moving in a positive direction. On the other hand, if someone constantly delays action, avoids effort, and fills their time with distractions, those habits slowly guide their life in a completely different direction. The difference between two lives is often the result of small choices repeated over many days. What makes habits so powerful is that they work quietly in the background. You might not notice a big change after one day or even 1 week, But months later, those repeated actions begin to show their impact. The person who practiced consistently becomes skilled. The person who stayed disciplined becomes stronger. The person who stayed focused begins to achieve results that once seemed far away. What once felt like a simple routine becomes the driving force behind real transformation. The most powerful realization is that you always have control over the habits you build. Every day gives you another opportunity to choose actions that align with the person you want to become. Even the smallest habit, repeated consistently, can change the path of your life. Over time, those daily actions accumulate into something much bigger. A new mindset, a stronger character, and a life shaped by the habits you chose to practice every single day. Your brain is constantly observing your behavior and drawing conclusions about who you are. It does not rely on what you promise yourself or the goals you write down in a notebook. Instead, it watches the actions you repeat day after day. If you consistently show discipline, effort, and persistence, your mind begins to recognize those behaviors as part of your identity. Over time, what started as effort becomes something natural because your brain has accepted it as proof of who you are. The human mind works like a powerful recording system. Every action you repeat sends a signal that strengthens a certain belief about yourself. When you keep your promises, finish what you start, and push through challenges, your brain gathers evidence that you are reliable and strong. But if you frequently avoid effort or give up too quickly, the brain records that pattern as well. Eventually, these repeated behaviors shape the internal story you carry about yourself. This is why repetition is so powerful. A single action might feel small and insignificant, but when the same behavior happens again and again, it becomes deeply embedded in your mind. Someone who practices a skill every day begins to see themselves as skilled. Someone who studies consistently starts to view themselves as intelligent and focused. The brain does not argue with repeated evidence. It simply accepts it and adjusts your identity accordingly. Many people try to change how they see themselves through positive thinking alone. They repeat affirmations and imagine a better version of their life, hoping their mindset will shift. While thoughts can inspire change, the brain truly believes what it repeatedly experiences. When your actions consistently match the identity you desire, your mind begins to trust that change is real. The belief becomes stronger because it is supported by real behavior. Over time, these repeated actions reshape your self-image. The person who once doubted their abilities begins to feel more capable because their behavior has proven it. The person who once struggled with discipline begins to see themselves as focused and determined. These transformations are not created by a single decision, but by consistent patterns of action that slowly reprogram the brain. Once your brain accepts a new identity, your behavior begins to align with it automatically. You start making choices that support the person you believe yourself to be. Discipline feels more natural, effort feels more meaningful, and challenges feel less intimidating. All of this happens because your brain has collected enough repeated evidence to believe that this is simply who you are. Many people spend years believing that their past defines who they are. They look at their mistakes, failures, and missed opportunities and assume that those experiences have permanently shaped their identity. They begin to see themselves as someone who is unlucky, incapable, or stuck. But the truth is far more empowering than that. Your identity is not a fixed label placed on you forever. It is something that constantly evolves, something that can be reshaped the moment you begin to change your actions. The past may explain where you have been, but it does not control where you are going. Every day gives you a new opportunity to make different choices. When you decide to act differently, to work harder, think bigger, or push past fear, you begin breaking the patterns that once defined you. At first, those actions may feel unfamiliar or uncomfortable because they challenge the version of yourself you have carried for years. But with every new step, you start proving that you are capable of becoming someone different. The human mind adapts quickly to repeated behavior. When you begin practicing new habits, your brain starts adjusting to the evidence it sees. Someone who once believed they were lazy can begin waking up early and working toward their goals. Someone who once felt insecure can start taking bold steps that require courage. These small shifts may seem simple, but they gradually build a new foundation for how you see yourself. One of the most powerful realizations in life is understanding that you are not limited by the person you used to be. Your past actions may have created your current situation, but your present actions are shaping your future identity. When you consistently choose growth over comfort, effort over excuses, and courage over fear, you slowly create a version of yourself that once felt impossible. Change rarely happens overnight, but it happens faster than most people expect. When actions become consistent, each day you choose a better habit, learn something new, or take responsibility for your life, you move further away from the identity that once held you back. Over time, the person you used to be begins to feel distant, replaced by someone stronger, more disciplined, and more confident. The beauty of identity is that it is always under construction. No matter where you start, you always have the ability to redesign the direction of your life. By choosing different actions today, you begin shaping a different mindset, a different character, and ultimately a completely different future. Every step forward becomes proof that change is not only possible, but already happening. Many people dream about dramatic changes in their lives. They imagine a sudden moment when everything shifts, when success arrives, confidence appears, and their problems disappear overnight. But real transformation rarely happens in a single powerful moment. Instead, it begins quietly with small actions that seem almost insignificant at first. These simple decisions, repeated day after day, slowly start building the habits that shape your future. The challenge is that small actions often feel too ordinary to matter. Reading a few pages of a book, practicing a skill for 30 minutes, waking up a little earlier, or choosing discipline over distraction may not feel like life-changing decisions in the moment. Yet these small steps are like tiny building blocks. One block alone may seem small, but when stacked consistently over time, they create something strong, stable, and powerful. The secret behind massive success is rarely a single breakthrough. It is the accumulation of thousands of small efforts made consistently. A person who becomes highly skilled at something usually didn't rely on one big effort. Instead, they practiced regularly, improved little by little, and stayed committed when progress felt slow. What looked like overnight success to others was actually the result of years of small actions building momentum behind the scenes. Consistency gives small actions their power. When you repeat the same positive habit every day, your brain begins turning it into something automatic. The effort that once required discipline slowly becomes part of your normal routine. Over time, those habits start influencing other areas of your life. Discipline in one area begins creating discipline in another, and the small improvements begin multiplying. Another powerful effect of small actions is the confidence they create. Every time you follow through on a small commitment, you prove to yourself that change is possible. The mind starts believing that progress is happening, even if it is slow. This belief fuels motivation and encourages you to keep going. What began as a small effort gradually builds into something much bigger because your belief in yourself continues to grow. As these small actions continue stacking over weeks, months, and years, they begin creating results that once seemed impossible. The person who kept learning becomes knowledgeable. The person who kept practicing becomes exceptional. The person who kept improving becomes successful. What started as simple daily habits eventually leads to a powerful transformation, proving that the smallest consistent actions often hold the greatest power to change a life. Every time you avoid taking action, something subtle but powerful begins to happen inside your mind. At first, it may seem harmless to delay a task, postpone a decision, or ignore a challenge. But the brain is constantly observing your behavior and learning from it. When avoidance becomes a pattern, your mind begins to interpret it as evidence about who you are. Slowly, without even realizing it, procrastination starts shaping an identity built around hesitation and self-doubt. Procrastination rarely begins as a big problem. It usually starts with small moments. Telling yourself you will start tomorrow, convincing yourself that you need more time, or waiting until you feel more ready. In those moments, the mind chooses comfort over growth. While that may provide temporary relief, it also sends a message to your brain that challenges should be avoided rather than faced. Over time, these repeated delays strengthen the belief that you are someone who struggles to take action. The longer this pattern continues, the stronger the identity becomes. A person who repeatedly avoids difficult tasks may begin believing they are not disciplined enough, not capable enough, or not confident enough to succeed. These beliefs are not created because the person lacks potential, but because their actions have trained their mind to expect avoidance instead of courage. The brain simply follows the pattern it sees most often. Fear often hides behind procrastination. Many people delay action because they are afraid of failure, judgment, or making mistakes. Avoidance feels safer than risking disappointment. However, the more someone avoids action, the more powerful that fear becomes. The mind starts associating effort with discomfort and uncertainty, which makes future action even harder. What started as a small delay gradually turns into a cycle that keeps a person stuck. The most dangerous part of avoidance is how quietly it limits growth. While someone is delaying action, time continues moving forward. Opportunities pass by, skills remain undeveloped, and goals slowly drift further away. The gap between who someone is and who they want to become begins to widen. This creates frustration, and that frustration often strengthens the belief that change is impossible, even though the real problem is simply a lack of consistent action. Breaking this cycle begins the moment a person decides to act despite discomfort. The smallest step forward starts weakening the identity built around avoidance. When someone faces a task they once delayed and completes it, their brain receives new evidence, proof that action is possible. Over time, repeated action replaces hesitation, and the identity built on fear and doubt begins to fade, replaced by one built on courage and progress. Many people wait for motivation before they take action. They believe that one day they will wake up feeling energized, inspired, and ready to change their lives. In those moments of excitement, they start strong, full of determination and confidence. But motivation is a temporary emotion. It rises quickly and fades just as fast. When the excitement disappears, many people stop moving forward because they were relying on a feeling rather than a system. The truth is that real progress rarely depends on how motivated you feel. Some of the most successful people in the world do not wait for inspiration to appear. Instead, they build routines and habits that keep them moving even on days when they feel tired, distracted, or unmotivated. Their strength comes from consistency, the ability to keep showing up and doing the work regardless of how they feel in the moment. Consistency may not look exciting at first. It often involves doing the same small actions over and over again, even when progress feels slow. Yet this repetition is exactly what creates real change. When you practice something daily, you gradually improve your skills, strengthen your discipline, and train your mind to stay focused. The power of consistency lies in its ability to turn small efforts into lasting results. Motivation often encourages people to start, but consistency is what allows them to continue. There will always be days when energy is low and distractions are strong. In those moments, the people who rely only on motivation usually give up. But those who have developed consistent habits keep moving forward because their actions have become part of their routine. What once required intense effort slowly becomes normal behavior. Another powerful aspect of consistency is the confidence it builds over time. When you show up every day and follow through on your commitments, you begin trusting yourself more deeply. Each completed action becomes proof that you are capable of discipline and persistence. This growing self-belief strengthens your mindset and makes future challenges feel less intimidating. As days turn into weeks and weeks turn into months, the results of consistent effort begin to reveal themselves. Skills sharpen, opportunities grow, and progress becomes visible. What once seemed like a distant goal starts to feel achievable. All of this happens not because of a few moments of intense motivation, but because of steady, disciplined action repeated again and again. Every action you take sends a powerful signal, not just to others, but to yourself. The way you behave day after day becomes the invisible blueprint for what you consider acceptable in your life. If you settle for mediocrity in small choices, whether it's skipping workouts, procrastinating on tasks, or avoiding challenges, your mind starts to accept that as your standard. Over time, these small compromises begin defining the limits of what you believe you deserve, quietly shaping the life you lead. When you consistently act with discipline, integrity, and effort, you raise the bar for yourself. Every time you choose to do what is difficult, what is right, or what is necessary, your actions tell your mind, this is the standard I live by. These repeated behaviors shape your expectations and create a mental framework for what you will accept in life. People who consistently honor their commitments and take responsibility for their actions naturally develop higher standards for themselves in every area of life. The danger of ignoring your daily actions is that they begin to define mediocrity as normal. Someone who frequently cuts corners, delays work, or gives up when things get uncomfortable sends a message to their mind that settling is acceptable. These behaviors silently lower self-expectations and set a standard of complacency that becomes increasingly difficult to escape. The life you end up living often mirrors the quality of your daily choices. On the other hand, when you take intentional, high-quality action consistently, you signal to yourself that you refuse to settle. Every time you show up, push past fear, or give more than what is required, you reinforce the standard of excellence you are building. Your identity begins aligning with those actions, and you start expecting more from yourself in ways that naturally elevate your performance, relationships, and opportunities. Your actions don't just shape your personal standards, they also shape how the world responds to you. People notice consistency, effort, and discipline. When you act with integrity and excellence, others begin to treat you accordingly, raising the level of respect, responsibility, and opportunity in your life. In essence, the standards you set through your actions create both your internal expectations and the external reality you experience. The most empowering part of this principle is that you have control over it. Every day gives you the chance to take an action that either raises or lowers your standards. By consistently choosing actions that reflect growth, courage, and excellence, you not only change what you do, you redefine what you expect from yourself and what you are willing to accept from life. Over time, these deliberate actions become the foundation for a higher, more empowered life. Every choice you make, no matter how small it seems in the moment, is a vote for the person you will become. When you decide to take action, even in the face of fear or uncertainty, you are casting a vote for courage and growth. When you choose comfort avoidance or procrastination, you are casting a vote for stagnation. Each decision is like a tiny deposit in the bank of your future self, accumulating over time into the identity you will carry tomorrow. Many people underestimate the power of small decisions. Skipping a workout, ignoring an opportunity to learn, or delaying a difficult conversation might feel insignificant today. But each of these moments sends a subtle message to your mind about who you are. Repeated over days, weeks, and months, those small choices create patterns that define your behavior, your habits, and ultimately the person you become. Your future identity is the sum of these tiny, seemingly inconsequential votes. The beauty of this idea is that you are constantly shaping your own destiny. No one else has the power to cast votes on your behalf. Only you do. Every time you act with integrity, discipline, or courage, you strengthen the version of yourself that you admire and aspire to become. Every time you make a decision that aligns with your goals and values, you are providing your future self with proof that they are capable, resilient, and strong. Fear and doubt often tempt people to avoid voting for growth. They wait for the perfect moment or the right feeling before taking action. But the truth is that no moment will ever feel perfect. Progress and transformation happen when you act despite fear, uncertainty, or discomfort. Each courageous choice is a vote that strengthens the identity of someone who doesn't wait for circumstances to dictate their life, someone who actively creates it. One of the most powerful aspects of this principle is how compounding works. A single vote may not feel like it matters, but repeated over time, the effect is profound. Consistently making choices that align with your goals builds momentum. Your actions reinforce each other, shaping habits, beliefs, and behaviors that naturally support the person you are becoming. In this way, small intentional decisions compound into extraordinary transformation. Ultimately, the life you live tomorrow is determined by the votes you cast today. Every decision, every action, every choice adds up to the person you will be. By consciously choosing actions that reflect strength, courage, discipline, and growth, you are building a future self that is empowered, capable, and unstoppable. Each vote is an opportunity, a chance to create the life and the identity you desire, one decision at a time. When we step back and look at the bigger picture, one truth becomes absolutely clear: your life is the direct result of the actions you take and the decisions you make every single day. Every habit, every choice, and every small step forward is a building block of the person you are becoming. Nothing in life happens by accident. Not success, not confidence, not strength, and not fulfillment. These are earned, crafted, and proven through repeated, deliberate action. Your past does not define you, and your circumstances do not limit you. What defines you is the way you consistently respond to life, the choices you make when no one is watching, and the courage you show in moments of uncertainty. The beauty of this principle is that it puts the power entirely in your hands. No matter where you have been, no matter the mistakes you've made, you can start today to rewrite the story of your life. Every small step you take, even the ones that feel insignificant, counts toward building a stronger, wiser, and more empowered version of yourself. Every action is a vote for the future you want to inhabit, and every repeated habit sends a message to your mind about who you truly are. Your identity is not fixed. It is fluid, flexible, and constantly being reshaped by the choices you make. Consistency, more than motivation, becomes your greatest ally. While motivation comes and goes, disciplined, repeated action compounds over time, creating unstoppable momentum. The person you were yesterday was shaped by the choices you made then, and the person you will be tomorrow is shaped by the choices you make today. Excellence is not an event, it is a process. Transformation is not a lightning strike, it is the quiet accumulation of effort, courage, and commitment over time. It is also vital to remember that every action sets the standard for what you accept in life. If you consistently take action with purpose, integrity, and effort, you create a life that reflects those same standards. If you avoid action, procrastinate, or settle for comfort, you send a signal to your mind and to the world that less is acceptable. The life you live is a reflection of the identity you demonstrate through your daily behaviors, not the one you imagine or wish for. The incredible truth is that you are never stuck. You are never permanently defined by your past, your failures, or the circumstances around you. The moment you decide to act differently, to take steps aligned with your highest vision, you begin reshaping your identity and opening doors to possibilities you may have never imagined. Change is available to anyone willing to commit to consistent, purposeful action. Every habit you form, every courageous decision you make, and every step outside your comfort zone compounds into profound transformation. So if there is one thing to take away from this, it is this: your actions are your most powerful tool, your greatest ally, and your ultimate proof of who you are and who you can become. Your identity is not declared, it is demonstrated. Your future is not wished for, it is built one choice at a time. Your life is not determined by what you say you want, it is created by what you do. Step boldly, act consistently, and vote for the person you are destined to become, because the life you dream of is already waiting on the other side of your next decision.